So here the next part is example of checked exception. Did we discuss? Yes or no? Okay. So here one example of checked exception. So what is checked exception? An exception which is known by compiler is called as a checked exception. So it is something like whenever we plan a journey, we'll make sure the things, and whenever we go for exam, we make sure the hall tickets are correct. Whenever we go for interview, we make sure resume is there, some ID proof is there and all. That is nothing but similarly, when we write some type of Java code, compiler is also aware of those things. Okay. So it is something like file not found exception is one of the checked exception. If you remember the order here. So file not found exception is one of the checked exception. What's the meaning of that? In the name itself, we have a meaning. It means file is not there. If file is not there. Yeah. So that scenario is in Java. So we have a files concept. There we'll discuss more clearly. So currently, let me give an example. In our main method, if we write a program, it is something like on my desktop, we have a file called as some text file. Let us assume some text file. I'm assuming that text file is there. Okay. There is some content. There is what is Java and some statements are there. That content we have to read into Java program. So far we are working everything within the Java only. We can do from outside also. So that is where, so here there is a one predefined class called as file reader. File reader is one class. The object reference and here new file reader. So I am creating the object for a file reader. File reader is one predefined class which is present in java.io package. Okay. So what this file reader will take, this file reader will take the input in string format. So this will take the input in string format. So whenever we are giving some string format, for example, say in my C drive colon slash on the desktop, some file name called as abc dot some text file. Some text file is there. So this is the input which you have to give. So what this is called as? This is called as a file path. The path of the file you have to give as input to the file header class object. So now, whenever you write this code, immediately compiler will throw the error because, okay, now I am creating, assume that I am creating a file called as abc.txt file on my desktop. Then I'm copying that path and I'm using this file header object. What if it is the guarantee for the same file will be there on the desktop tomorrow? If it is generally project scenario in real time, so we are not carrying our personal laptops, right? We might work in office systems, and that system may be accessed by your colleague also. Somebody will work in day shift, somebody will work in night shift, or maybe manager also have the access. They might remove the file, or they might move the file from desktop to some other D drive in some other folder. Okay. So in that scenario, will there be any guarantee always that the file will exist in the same path, in the same place? No. So because of that, when we run the program, we definitely get the exception, right? Yes or no? So this is always, there is a possibility. So this is always a risky. That's why it is known to the compiler. This part is known to the compiler. That is why compiler will check this one. Okay, program is giving some path. The path may not be there all the time. So I should not allow. So when it is allowed, it is mandatory for handling the checked exceptions by using a try catch block. So when programmer writes this code within a try block, because risky code always must write in a try block. So when programmer writes this in try block, then compiler will be allowed. Otherwise, compiler will not allow for us to write it, or if you forcefully, if you still do it also, you'll get the exception at runtime. So that's why. So this try followed by a catch block. So for this, the meaningful exception name is file not found exception is the name. Then some object for this E, then the catch block body, you can write some code. So this is one example of a checked exception. Did you get me? So this is example of checked exception. Otherwise, compiler will not allow us to write or will not allow us to continue the program. So if you are using the CFR object, so wherever you are using the CFR, we keep on getting the errors because it is checked exception. We must handle by using try catch block. Clear? So we'll see this through Eclipse also, so that you'll understand a little better. So roughly, I'm taking a project and I'm taking a class directly. So without package, can we take? So here we have to give the package. Latest version of Eclipse will not allow without package statements. Previous it is used to allow. So now this package is not there. It is asking us to take it. Yes, I'm moving it. Okay. So then inside this one, what we are discussing, whenever we create the object for a file reader space fr equals new file reader open and close parenthesis semicolon. Why it is giving error? Because a default package which is available to every Java program is lang package, but file reader is present in IO package. So you can, if you know it, you can write the import statement directly. Otherwise, you can use the Eclipse IntelliSense. So we have to import this called java.io. You can see it's imported. Java.io is the package. But now left-hand side error is gone. Right-hand side, we are getting one more error. What is that? Sorry? Some path to be given. Okay, I'm giving a dummy path. In string, whatever we give, empty also, it's fine, right? So now still we are getting the error. What is that? Now compiler is saying that, so this is a risky code. Risky code, your project may give exception at any point of time. Please make sure you handle this one. Yeah, what is the solution? We have to write by try catch block only. We can't write otherwise. Otherwise, we can't continue with this program. So what is the thing to do? So inside this, first let me give some dummy path, dummy file names. There are not there, doesn't matter. But it has to be some string input. So if empty single quotes also fine, or some file path name also fine. So now what is the thing? So since this is a risky code, we know that it has to be written in try catch block. Try. Okay. Why it is giving error is catch. So file not found exception is also one class. Yes or no? All these predefined exceptions are classes. So then it is also present in the package name called java.io. So control space import that statement. Now the catch block body. Yeah. So this is the we can write it. Why it is giving error? Can anybody? Still we are getting error in line number 15. What's the reason? By mistake, I did not take main method. Main method or any method, I did not take. You observe? Even if we don't use this try catch block also, we will get a suggestion. We'll get a suggestion. If there is a shortcut way also, we can write it. Yeah. So this is the approach. So whenever we write such type of code, file reader, file related classes, SQL related classes, all these classes, compiler is aware of. That's why you can see in the list of checked exceptions, I have given IO exceptions, file not found, end of file exception, SQL exception. So all these things will throw the exception or error, compile time error when we don't handle by using a try catch block. It's mandatory for a programmer to handle. Clear? Yeah. So this is one. And in how many ways we can handle exception? In the initial class, after first class, or in the during first class only we discussed. Two different approaches, right? What are those two different approaches? Try catch and throws also, right? So which one we have to handle now? Checked or unchecked? What about unchecked exceptions? We have to debug and rectify it, but unchecked exceptions are never recommended to handle. Okay. Only checked exceptions we have to handle by using a try catch block. So the second approach, this is the first approach. So by using a try catch block, how do we use throws approach? Even I'll give you the example for both, but it's never recommended for a checked exceptions. Okay. So then this handling exceptions by throws keyword or throws class. Yeah, the meaning of throws is, what's English meaning of throws? I'll throw a ball. What you'll do? Or a bowler is bowling a ball. What a batsman will do? Either batsman will score for runs, or if it is a bouncer, what the batsman will do? He will duck. Means he'll bend down. Then that ball will goes to keeper, right? So it is also similarly throws. Throws means, as a programmer, when I'm writing a method, I don't know how to handle the exception by using a try catch block. So then what I have to do? I have to throw. Whoever is using my method is responsible for handling that exception. So generally in real time scenario, so the newcomers will not get an opportunity to handle the exceptions. So then what we supposed to do when we are using such file header classes? We have to throw. We have to throw so that whoever is using that method or which method is calling that method is responsible for handling the method. That's what the throws. Throws means I'm just moving away. Somebody is throwing a ball hard towards me. I'm moving aside. It means it is thrown to somebody. I have to face it or I have to duck it. So leave it. I throw it. That's what the same meaning here also. So it means when it comes to, there is a class called class A. Inside this class, if you are having a method, say public void m, wanted m, okay, I'll close here. There is a method, parenthesis and all those things. Here's the method body. Inside this method body, what is the thing? File reader class I'm using. So file reader, some fr equals new file reader of the double quotes, some text file, say abc.txt, for example. Now, what is the recommendation? We have to handle the exception because file reader is one class, predefined class, which is known to the compiler that if programmer is using this file reader class, if the file is not there in this path, it is always a risky code. That's why handle the exception by using a try catch block. So compiler will say the warning. But what is my situation? I don't know how to handle. Then what we have to do? We have to throw. We have to throw. So where will be called? This method for execution will be called from some other method or maybe main method, right? So public static void main. So of course class is required and all. So I'm not writing that class. Otherwise, okay. Public class test class inside this main method. So what is to be called? Object creation of a class, then followed by a dot m. Correct now? So this is, let us assume this is the approach. Now this person whoever is writing this class A maybe don't know how to handle the exceptions or maybe not authorized to handle the exceptions by using a try catch block. Then in that scenario, this person has to throw the exception by using a throws class. So generally extends keyword, implements keyword, everything we use so far in a class header. But this is first time something we are writing in the method header. So method name, public access modifier, return type, method name, parenthesis, inputs and all, then space, throws is a keyword. Throws is a keyword. Throws, what is the exception that it throws? This line will give what exception? File not found exception. So throws space, the exception name called as a file not found exception. However is the spelling exactly, we have to write the same thing. Now the error will be removed. So from this m method, until unless either try catch block or if you write throws. So if you do any one of these two things, then only compiler will be compromised. Otherwise, we will be keep on getting the error in this line of code. So this is the second approach. By using a throws also we can throw. Now because it is thrown, who is calling this m method? Main method is calling this M method. Object creation, is it any risky? No. Method calling, is it risky? Yes or no? M method calling is risky now because this here we are getting the exception and that person is throwing. Now who is responsible? M method. Main method is responsible for handling this exception now. How to handle? Try catch block only. Finally, someone has to handle by try catch block. Throwing is just escaping from that situation. That's all. Okay. So here, so what is this? This has to be put in try, then catch block, then the matched catch block exception name called file not found exception. So is the approach. So this some variable, then some block of code. So maybe the junior developers will write it, but the one project manager or senior developers has to handle the exception by using try catch block finally. Understood? Yeah. So one approach we can handle directly. We can handle directly by using try catch. The second approach can be thrown on the method header by adding a throws keyword space the exception name which this line of code might give. Okay. So then in that scenario, the method which is called from the other method is responsible for handling it. So by try catch block only. That's recommendation. Yeah. Clear now? Then this main method also doesn't want to handle. Then what main method can do? Can main method also throw to somebody? Yes or no? So syntactically, yes. Syntactically, without writing this try catch block also, main method also can escape. By what? Here also, by adding throws, then what's the exception name? File not found exception. So even main method also can escape from this. But do we have any parent method for main method? The starting point of execution of a Java program is only main method. Then still if you are throwing from main method also, then who is there to handle? Anybody? That's why even though syntactically it is accepted, but professionally we should never throw from main method. That's the last point. That is where we have to handle by using try catch block. At least if M1 is called from M2 and M2 is called from M3 and all those things, this can be done. So here can throw, throw and throw and throw. Finally, someone will call this method from main method to execute. Yes or no? Otherwise, writing a code is meaningless. So, you know, without execution. When that execution is happening, whichever is the highest method that is called here, that must be handled by using a try catch block inside main method. So always keep on throwing is not at all a professional code. So it is okay till main method, but in main method at least we must handle by using try catch block. Yeah. Are you getting me? Yes. So here the point which I'd like to highlight is this is syntactically possible, but not recommended at all. Understood? Clear? Next, the next point is what if there are two exceptions from this method body? From method M. So as of now, there is only one line of code which causes the exception called as a file not found exception we have thrown. And in this method M, what if there is one more exception also occurs? For example, like 100 by 0. Okay, don't worry about checked or unchecked. Just my example is one more exception, that's all. So if I write SQL, you don't understand. And that's the reason I'm taking a known example. So now from this method M, how many exceptions are occurring? 2. But method is throwing how many? 1. Then now what to do? Arithmetic exception also it occurs because 100 by 0 is a division by 0 is the reason for arithmetic exception. Now two exceptions are coming from method M, but method is throwing only one. Then can it throw both? Or one should be handled and one should be thrown? What's the approach? Yeah, the answer is the method can throw any number of exceptions by a comma separation. So public void M parenthesis throws file not found exception, comma. What's the next exception name? Arithmetic exception, that's all. No need of using throws once again with next exception name. Only one throws followed by exception 1, comma, exception 2, comma, exception 3, and so on, exception n. So here also we can handle by using arithmetic exception. Arithmetic exception. Yeah. So a method can throw multiple exceptions from the method header by using a throws keyword. Clear? This right hand side part is clear. Then comes to left hand side. Now, whenever we are calling this method, how many exceptions will occur? Two exceptions. Then what should I add more? One more exception catch block. One more catch block we should add, right? Correct or not? So here we are handling method is throwing file not found and arithmetic only. But in this, only file not found exception is handled. Then what about other one? Can we ignore? Or we must add one more catch block? We must add one more catch block. Then can we add simply second? Can I add simply here? Catch, then file not, sorry, arithmetic exception. Catch then followed by arithmetic exception. Will it be allowed? Arithmetic exception and some even. Then the body. Is it correct? Yes or no? So here we should be very, very careful. This is not correct. So what is this says is, okay, of course, I'm not pointing about this example, but I'm concept wise, whenever we are using this multiple catch blocks, we must follow the exception hierarchy. We must follow. What is the exception hierarchy? In this, throwable is a parent-most class. Then exception is the next child, or I mean the next parent. Then IO exception is one parent for this. SQL is one more exception. Then runtime is one more exception. And arithmetic and all these things are childs for runtime exceptions. So whenever we are writing multiple catch blocks, child most should be first, parent most should be second. We can't write the other order. It is something like, so when you are fighting with your friend, okay, your friend got so much injured, okay, so then their parents will come. Definitely no. So first the parents will come to you or your parents. You and he's fighting. Okay, he got so much injured. Now his friends or his friends are coming. So whom they'll come to? They'll come to you only, no? So if you are also not responsible or if you are not available or roaming here and there, then so if the parents will go, right? So it is the same way. So when any exception occurs, the requirement of handling is by using multiple catch blocks, then child most catch block should be written first. Then only its parent. If you write the other order, then what's the use of coming to you when your parents are available directly? Yes or no? Did you get me? Yeah. So that is where whenever we write these multiple cache blocks, the order should be child most first, then parent most should be the second one. So, okay. So I'll write that point. I'll give you the example also. When it comes to multiple catch blocks, multiple catch blocks, the rule says that from exception hierarchy, from exception hierarchy, the importance is use child most exception first, or more specific exception, then second we have to use parent most exception, parent most exception, or more generic exception, more generic exception. Yeah. So now if I just go back to this scenario, so who is the parent of this file not found and arithmetic exception? In exception hierarchy, which class is the parent of file not found and arithmetic exception? in exception hierarchy. Which class is the parent of both? Arithmetic exception, file not found exception. So for both of these, which is the parent? Exception, man. This is the parent. Then it has one child called IO exception, then subchild called as file not found. Then this exception has one child called as runtime, then subchild called as arithmetic exception. Then who is the parent of all this? Exception. Then who is the parent of exception also? Throwable. So in this scenario, just to escape, we can write exception by using a try followed by one cache block we can write called throwable. Yes or no? Who is the parent? Throwable is a parentmost class of all classes. Then throwable will take care about everything. Yeah. But in that scenario, execution time will be slower because it has to search for which is the child, parent, then writing as a programmer, is he writing correct or not? Then who is the parent of all those? Then okay, throwable is fine. That execution time will be delayed. That is why we have to use multiple cache blocks. Don't simply use throwable for every scenario. And that cache blocks order should be so child most or specific exception first. What do you mean by specific? These are very specific. Under runtime exception, there is a specific reason for arithmetic exception. There is a specific reason for array index out of bounds, null pointer, class cast, number format, and all. There is a specific reason. That's why these are more specific. This part is specific, more specific. And here also, they are specific under IO exception. But this is a throwable, most generic. This IO exception also more generic for all checked exceptions. So that is why. So what we have to write? We have to write more specific exception first. Yeah. So then most generic exception last. So that is how we have to write the exceptions in order, or I mean cache blocks in order whenever we need a multiple cache blocks. Is it understood? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So for example, for example, so here if we have multiple exceptions from a method, so public class some class A, then here public void some yum method, and inside this method yum, so one is file reader, some fr, and the next part and all I'm not writing. Then there is one more reason for the exception as okay. So I'll take system.out.println. So print of some 100 by 0. And this method is throwing by using a throws. So file not found exception. I'm writing the short forms, and also arithmetic exception. Both it is throwing. Now our focus is on catch block order, right? So from test class or some other class, main method called public static void main method. And here, whenever we write such code, so we are calling this method called yum. By creating object for a class, whenever we call this yum method, this method calling of yum by using object a reference is a risky code. Therefore, one try block is required. Then we know that one try can have how many cache blocks? N number of cache blocks. So when it comes to this cache block, which is the most specific? Which is the most specific or child most? Arithmetic exception, right? So if we can go for arithmetic, of course, they are child of two different exceptions. Okay, no confusions. Arithmetic exception is one. Yeah. So in the previous scenario, if you remember, exception occurs but no match to cache block. Did you remember? Exception occurs but no match to cache block. Normal termination or abnormal termination? Abnormal termination. In that scenario, what should I do? I'm not sure that whether I'll get arithmetic exception or not. But still, I have to correct my code. So if it is arithmetic exception, it's fine. Otherwise, use my parent. Who is my parent? Exception. Yes. Otherwise, we can also write throwable. I'm not sure what is the exception coming. Yeah. So then we can use this type of order of the multiple catch blocks. Child most or most specific first. If we are not sure about it, or sometimes we may miss the order, then in that scenarios, you can use a child most first, then parent most as the last or second. So in this case, if this is not a matched catch block, then where JVM goes? The throwable. So under throwable, everything is there. So there is no other point of missing the exception whenever we are using the throwable. But if you are using arithmetic, then it may be file not found. Okay. Or if you are using arithmetic, it may be SQL. Then in that scenario, what JVM will do? JVM will check in this order only. JVM will check in this order. If it is from M method calling, if you are getting some different exception, then if the catch block is not matched for the first time, then JVM goes for alternate catch block where it is matching. Still, if it is not matching, then it goes for one more. So finally, throwable is the parent of all exceptions. So there it will be resolved. Yeah. Then what can we write reverse? So we are discussing one order that most specific first and most generic second. Correct? So if, for example, if you write this first catch block as throwable, then some name and all those things. Then one more catch block as arithmetic exception. Then what is the order of JVM to execute? So from any exception comes from try block, then JVM goes to the suitable catch block or order of catch blocks. Order of catch blocks. So first catch block. So what this is? This is the parent most. Is it capable of handling every exception or not? Yes. Then what's the use of this if you write it? Any use or no use? Will ever JVM reach to that code? No. So JVM will never reach that code because Throwable is capable of handling everything. Then why you're writing this code? That's why compiler will not allow. It's a compilation error. That's why most specific first, generic second, compilation or I mean compile time, no errors, execution time, everything will be fine. So that is why you have to follow this order of most specific followed by most generic or child most by parent most. Understood? So now we'll see one example of how to use the throws from the Eclipse. Then I'll also show you this order of the exceptions. So for this, I'm taking one more class name A, and inside this I'll take a method called yum, and inside this yum method, so I'll write this code. What is that code? This 5-letter code only. I'll cut from there. I'll paste it here. Now it is meaningless. Yeah. So why we are getting error? Why we are getting error in line number 16? Yeah, because this is a risky code. Compiler is not allowing. Yeah, then what is one approach? Try catch block. But as a programmer, I am not authorized to write try catch blocks. I have to throw to my seniors. What should I do? Throws. Where throws, mister? Throws, throwable. Three things. If we are using by mistake, yes, also gone guess. Okay. So what is the keyword? In the method header, not in the class header. In the method header, what is the throws is a keyword. You can see the color combination. Throws next exception name, right? So I'm using file. See, as soon as I add throws, compiler is happy. Now the error is shifted to line number 15. Okay, throws file not found exception. Accepted. That's it. So this is our throws. So now who is responsible? The method from which yum is called. Okay. So by creating object for a class, then if you are calling this yum method there, then a dot yum of parenthesis is a risky code now because this method is throwing. Now who is catching? Sorry, who is responsible? Main method is calling that yum method. That's why main method is responsible. Now can main method escape? Syntactically yes. Yeah, syntactically yes. We'll see. That is so throws here also throws. Then file not found exception. If you are missing the spellings, uppercase, lowercase, gone case. Accepted. Now any parent of main, any other method which calls main method? No. So JVM by default starts the execution from main method only. Therefore, even though it is accepted, it is simply we are bluffing the compiler. We are bluffing it, but we are not actually handling the exception. So that is why this is not at all recommended, even though it is possible. That's why I remove this code. But what is recommended? So at least in main method, we have to write by using a try catch block. The shortcut is just place your cursor there, surround try catch, surround with try catch, done. It will take care about what a catch block to add. IntelliSense will take care about what catch block to add. That's it. Clear? Clear. Yeah. So then we discussed about the two exception scenario. So for that, I start from fresh. I'll take out this try catch. Yeah. So we'll see why I'm taking out. Yeah. So next one, in this method body, M method body, I am going to add one more line of code called as 100 by 0. Is it checked or unchecked? Division by 0 is checked or unchecked? Unchecked. So therefore compiler bother about it? No. So as a programmer, we should know we should not write such type of code. But just for our understanding of multiple exceptions to throw, I'm just adding that. Then what is the approach? Two exceptions are coming from method M, but only one is thrown. By using throws keyword, only one is thrown. Then what about others? So can we use a comma separation? Yeah, to throw both comma separation, exception name, arithmetic exception. Accepted? That's the first proof. From one method, we can throw any number of exceptions. By using only throws once, then exception name, comma, exception name, comma, exception name, like that, any number. So then, now if you call M, now by using this A dot M method, if you call, now this is the risky. What is the approach? Since it's the main method, don't throw again, but surround with try catch. But how many catches are required? Therefore, use this middle option, surrounds with try multi catch. Now you observe how it is writing. It is writing the R approach. Okay. It is writing the R approach. Now here, how many exceptions were handled? Only one exception by using a catch block. Now can I add one more catch block? One more catch block. Then I'll add arithmetic exception. Some E1, then the body. Accepted or not? Yes. But in between, can I add one more catch block, which is nothing but throwable? You observe. Why we are getting error in line number 22? Yeah, when it comes to the order of multiple catch blocks, childmost should be on top, parentmost should be as the last. But when it compared to throwable and arithmetic exception, arithmetic is child, but which is at the last. That's why we are getting the error. Then what is the solution? So we can take this from here and place it before the throwable. Now it is syntactically accepted. That's what I mean. Child most first, parent most last, so that the order of execution will be proper and also will be handled properly. Done? Understood, guys? Any questions? Clear? Yeah. So this is about the exceptions and exception hierarchy and checked and unchecked reasons and handling by using try catch block or handling by using a throws class. Am I clear? That control space IntelliSense, the It's a very simple thing, Prashant. Leave about it. If you import the packages, you'll get the IntelliSense. Otherwise, no. Okay. The next one, the next scenario is like in every scenario, in every situation, all lines of try block, all lines of try block will be executed or not. In every scenario, all the lines of try block will be executed or no, will not be executed. I mean, if exception occurs from try, doesn't occur from try, all such scenarios. And all the lines of catch block will be executed or not is the second question. In every scenario. I'm not saying one line of try block. I'm saying all lines of try block. There is a difference. For example, if you are using a try catch block, and in this try catch block, some exception, some variable. In this scenario, in my try block, there is a first line of code called system.out.println. So print 100 by 2. Fine. Will it be executed? Yes. So in the try block, only second line 100 by 0. Will this be executed? No. Why no? When JVM enters into try block, what's the first execution? 100 by 2. So after that, will it go to catch block or will it go to next line? So 100 by 2, any exception or no exception? Therefore, JVM goes to next line or out of try? Next line. So now this line will be executed. So 100 by 0, exception or no exception? Exception. So because of that, if I write some 100 by 5, will it be executed? No. Then where JVM should go? Out of the try. Correct or not? That's one scenario. Now my question is this. In every situation, all lines of a try block will be executed or not? What's the answer? No is the answer. Correct. The next, in catch block, for example, this is the exception. In catch block also, I wrote arithmetic exception. I write arithmetic exception here, but in this catch block, I'll write 100 by 0. Then I'll write system.out.println handled. Exception is handled. Then from here, we know that JVM comes to catch block, which is matched arithmetic exception. Then enters into the body of catch block, first line of execution. What will happen? One more exception. Then second line will be executed or will not be executed? Will not be. Now read the same question. All lines of catch block will be executed or no? No. So therefore, even though we are handling by using try catch block, then there are situations where we might not get the execution of entire code of try block. We might not get the execution of entire catch block also. First of all, why I am discussing this is, so if you're using something called as file reader, in this checked exception, I have used one example called as file reader. So for file reader, it is one of the file resource. It is outside resource. Yeah, which is there in some package. We are importing that package. Because of that, our current Java file, example.java, will be occupied with so much of memory. Yeah. So when it is occupied so much of memory, then it is always recommended to close the important system resource connections. You observe why we are getting error warning here in line number 31. So then whenever we create the update for scanner class also, did you notice or not? Scanner, some sc equals new scanner of control space. I'll import it. At the same time, system.in is the syntax. Yeah, I'll use the int variable x to catch the scanner class next into method result. But still we are getting the warning under sc. Why? Why we are getting a warning for x variable? It is not used. So I'm using it, it's gone. Okay. But why we are getting the exception, warning for this sc? It's not used. Yeah, it is not closed. Okay. So you place your cursor. Resource leak. There is a resource leak is happening. SSE called scanner class object is not closed. At the same time, you place your cursor on this file reader. Multiple markers at this line. Resource leak FR is never closed. There is a problem. What is the problem is whenever we are using some resources like scanner class, all file readers, buffer readers, file readers, buffer readers, and all, they are external resources of the Java, which we are using in our current program. Therefore, our size of the memory for this program will be very, very big. Okay, scanner class is a bit small, but when it comes to file readers and all, the memory size will be more. Then in that scenario, what will happen? If you just close your Eclipse, then still your RAM will consume the file reader object, still RAM will consume the scanner class objects also. Then unnecessary memory consumption. If you're writing the next program, you may fall short of memory, out of memory error we make it, right? So then in all such scenarios, it is always recommended to close the important system resource connections or important file resources. Then where to close? If you're writing normal code inside a main method, for example, somewhere somewhere I'm closing this one. Any guarantee that this line will be executed? No, previously, any of the previous lines may throw exception. So therefore, JVM will not reach this point. Then if exception occurs, we learn that we can handle by using a try catch block, but still there is no guarantee for execution of entire try block. Still there is no guarantee for execution of entire catch block. Then where should we go? Where should we close? We should leave as it is. Then memory consumption. Then to solve all these problems, Java has come up with a one more block called finally block. Finally. So what is this finally? Finally block. Finally block is used to close important system resource connections. Important system resource connections like scanner class, file readers, buffer tracers, SQL connections, and all those things. Important system resource connections. Yeah. And then what's the guarantee that JVM will execute this final block then? So there is a rule or there is a strong bond between JVM and finally that whatever happens, JVM execute this final block. Okay. So JVM will execute finally block in every situation. It means try block exception occurs or not, catch block exception occurs or not. Then there is one more way. If you are using a return statement, what is the meaning of that return statement? We are asking that JVM control to go back, go return, right? Even though we are having a returns also, JVM will execute final block, then command execute the return statement. Okay, I'll write that. So JVM will execute final block in every situation or scenario. Yeah. Even so here, if return statement is added in try or catch, in try or catch also, JVM executes finally, JVM executes finally block and then executes return statement. Did you understand my situation? What is it? My situation is not my situation, my intention. For example, if you are having a try block, for example, so if you are having a try block, inside is try system.out.println, say print 100 by 0, sorry 100 by 2. Then I'm adding a return statement according to the return type of my method, some 100. Then what is execution? JVM comes to, for example, this is present in method m, this is present in some method. Then from main method, this m is called. Okay. So first JVM comes to method m. Are you imagining the scenario or should I write the correct code? There is a class A m method is present inside the try block, first line, then catch block also everything is there. So then, so here main method is there. From main method, we are calling this m. So therefore, from here, JVM comes to m. Inside m, first try block, first line. Then what is that? 50 is the output. Then where is JVM should go? Next line. What is the next line? Return means control should go back to main method, no? That's what the meaning of return statement, right? So we have learned in methods. This is what the meaning of return. Now before it, from here, if we are returning and if it returns to main method, then any use of final block? No, we want to close the connections from final block. But if you are adding return statement, even in this scenario also, when this is executed, first 50 output will get, then JVM is return. But what is JVM's responsibility? Okay, programmer is adding some return statement in try block, but before I execute this return statement, I have to go back and execute the final block. Yeah, from here, JVM goes to finally block, execute the final block code, then comes back and execute the return statement. That's a strong agreement between the JVM and final block always. That's what I mean this third point is. If return statement is added in try or catch block also, JVM execute final block, then execute the return statement. Understood? Yeah. Then what is the syntax of this final block and how it can be used? Or with the combination of what, or can you write it alone? That's the next question. When it comes to finally, we have learned one more final. Did you remember what is that? Final keyword we have learned. Now this is a finally, and there is one more finalize. Three are there. Okay. So finally, syntax is so try, then catch is a normal syntax that we are aware of. Exception space variable. Yeah. So then, so here we have to use the finally block. Try, catch, then finally is possible syntax. It means finally can be used along with try catch. Along with try catch only. Alone finally will not exist. Alone finally will not exist. Then we can also use try followed by finally also. No catch, no need of catch block. So try catch finally or try finally. So these are the two possible situations. If you are using finally followed by try, finally followed by try followed by catch. This is the, sorry, this is wrong. Can we use try finally then catch? So first try, then finally, then catch. Catch with exception name, variable name, then the body. Is it correct? This is also incorrect. This is also incorrect only. And if you are using alone finally also or only finally also syntactically wrong. So it is try catch finally possible and try finally possible. Finally will not have any exceptions to write. Okay, clear? So this is the syntax. First, let me show you the syntax. So we are using somewhere try catch. Then to this, we can add finally. And in this finally block, what's the purpose of this finally block? Close the system resource connections. What is this? SC dot close is the method. Close is a predefined method. SC dot, which method? Close method. Present in scanner class. Correct? Correct. Now, in this also, in this body also, fr dot, which method? Present in input stream leader. So how come one method is available in everywhere? It's in the object class. So whichever class object you use, it says that I'm present in that. Okay. So this, why you are getting error? This closing fine, this in here is not correct. You have to use try catch again. Okay. Just observe it is a, we have to use try catch. Because that is also exception. Wherever you are using fr, it's a checked exception. Compiler knows that. That's why it is asking to handle by using a exception. So what is the reason behind? It is throwing one more different exception. That's why it is not in the list of file not found. It's not in the list of arithmetic exception. So this is nothing but IO exception, input output string. So that's why. So we have to handle. Otherwise, what to do? Add one more here also. What is that? Which exception? IO exception. Accepted. Just import that. That's it. So in the import statement, it's also it should be added. Then now it is fine. Yeah. So like this, we can add any number of exceptions by using throws and from main method by following the hierarchy. So we have tried this one. Now where should I add this IO exception? Before file not found or after file not found? I want to add. Of course, throwable is there. It will take care about it. But I want to add this one. Now just observe. Save it. F11. I used control F11. The execution is happening or stopped. Window, show view, console. What is happening? Program is running still. It's still running. Yeah, of course, nowhere we are printing, so no exception. Sorry, no output. But why it is still running? Can anybody? Sorry, input. It is executing the program still. Are we getting any exception? No exception. So therefore, but why the program is not stopped? It takes some time to execute because it is checking the exceptions. So in hierarchy of exception classes, there are so many, but where we are getting the error? We are getting for this fr.close. Then where JVM should go? IO exception. Then where's that IO exception here? Not there. Therefore, from child most to parent most, it has to execute the all. Yes, that is a flow which is happening there. Yeah. So this is about the try catch finally. So then whenever we add some return statement in this finally block, try block, catch block, final block also, still what is the JVM's execution flow? That's the next point. So I said just that in every scenario, JVM will execute the finally block. But what is the proof? So for that, let us write the code directly in Eclipse. Shall I type? So I'll write directly. So now I'll remove everything and I'll write only in main method just to prove that's all. So here is the first try block. Inside this try block, I am adding one line of code called as say 100 by 2. Then, so of course it is not a checked exception, but I am using this for just concept to understand. Arithmetic exception, then followed by some E. Then inside this, I'll use a print statement just for our proof that which is executing and all. Handled, exception handled. Then after this catch, I'm adding finally also. In finally, so I'll use a print statement called this is finally block. Yeah. So now what is the scenario? Any exceptions from try block? No. Then what should happen? After try block, where JVM should go? Even outside finally also, I'm adding one statement called hello. After try block, no exception, then catch block will be executed, will not be executed. Then JVM goes to finally or JVM goes to the line number 21 called hello. So what is the rule? In every scenario, JVM execute the final block. Correct or not? Then what should be the order of output, if you understand? 50, this is final block, then followed by hello. Yeah. In no exception scenario also, JVM is going to finally. Did you get my first point? Then second, after this 100 by 2, I'll add one line of code which throws the exception called as 0, arithmetic exception. Now what's the execution? No, don't jump. First 50, 50, then 100 by 0. So exception. So therefore from there, JVM will jump to catch block, and in catch block handled. Then final block, this is final block, then followed by hello. Understood? Let us check. 50 handled final block. If no exception occurs from try block, JVM is going to finally. If exception occurs from try block also, JVM is going to finally. Clear? Then next part. So instead of this, okay, let exception occurs. Then inside cache block, I'll write one more line of code, some 200 by 0. What would happen? Any exceptions from try block? Yes. 100 by 0. Exception. Where JVM should go? Cache block. In cache block, any exception? Yes. Then any other way, are we handling that? No. Then it's a abnormal termination or normal termination? Abnormal termination. But in that scenario also, final block should be executed or not? Otherwise, no use of final block, right? So any resource connections, we have to close in finally. If final is not executed, what's the use of specific block or final block? Now let us see. Do we get the final block output also? Did we get or not? Exception occurred, but before final block execution or after final block? After final block execution, so we are getting the exception. So it means in every abrupt scenario, final block will be executed by JVM, except two things. Except two things. Okay. That I'll not say. What is that? Clear? So this is the final block. So then what is the next thing that we discussed? Even though we add a return statement, still JVM will execute the finally. So then first I'll remove these exceptions. I'll remove these exceptions. So for this, let me add one method must be in class. Class A, inside this public return type is int, then some method name m, and it is just a dummy method. So it has to return some 10. Anything. It has to return. But inside this part, now I'll use the try catch finally. Now, why we are getting error? Because whenever we are using return type, in every block, you have to add the return statement. Return 100 in try block, then return some other value I'm using wantedly, otherwise, okay, 100. Then in finally also, I'm using, it's not mandatory to add return statement in finally. It's not mandatory. Still, if you want, we can add. Yeah. So now from every of this block, we are getting the statement. Then I'll create the object reference, object constructor, method, then a dot m to be called. This is returning something, right? This method is returning something. Then what should I do? I'll use the print statement to catch it. Directly inside a print statement, we can call the function if it returns some value. Am I correct? Sorry. So what is that we have to call? A dot m. Everybody understood the code, or am I going unnecessary fast? Understood? So from this class A, method m, which returns one integer, then inside this try catch block is used, and in every of them, there is a return. There is a return. And what we are doing, we are creating the object and we are calling the method, then a dummy print statement, hello, not required. This is the code. Yeah. Now any exceptions from try? So when we call this method, when this method is called, JVM comes to method body. What is the first block? Try. In try, what is there? Print 50, 100 by 2. Then after that, return. But JVM will execute return statement and comes to main method, or JVM goes to finally and then comes to return statement, main method. Try, finally, return, main method. Are you getting me? Sure? Huh? Shall I go slow and shall I write? So here, what is my point is, this has to be understood clearly. This is where the interviews. Yeah. Now, what's the flow? So when first first line, then in second line, method calling. Then from here, method header. Then from that, try block. In try block, first line. So after first line, in console area, our output, we are going to get 50 is output. Correct? Then followed by, normally JVM has to go to next line. If JVM goes to next line of try block, what's the says return? Then control should come back to main method. Correct or not? But what's the use of finally? That's why even though return statement is there in the try block, so from this line, so first JVM is written, but JVM comes, execute is finally, and then goes back by return statement. So here we are going to get this is finally also is an extra output, then return. So finally block return. So from here where JVM should go? Back to no try block. No try block. If this is there, if this is not there, then here try block. Okay, wantedly I kept 100. I'll ask him one more questions also. So this part is understood. So what will be returned anyhow? Anyhow 100 will be returned. Correct or not? Then what is the output of this line? Whatever we are returning, that will be printed as output. Correct or not? So 50 final block, then 100 is the output that we are predicting. So now let us check. Is JVM also thinks the same way that we think? Yeah, 50 final block 100. So even though return statement is there in the try block, still we are getting the final block execution. That's my point. Clear? So now what we'll do? I'll erase. We'll execute these three scenarios with different return statements. Okay, please understand the order of execution. Now my change in the code is, in place of this 100 by 2, I'll give 100 by 0. Now what is the execution flow? First try block, yes or no? Try block, yes, next. The next exception occurring. Therefore from here, catch block, next First line of code handled, then catch block return is there. So does JVM execute catch block return or final block first? Final block, yes or no? Every scenario finally. So from here, then final block. Then from final return, back to main method return. That's a flow. Now tell me the output. Handled, this is finally, then followed by 100. Yeah. So previously without final block, there is a problem. There is a problem that some resource connections code might not execute. Now if you write in final block, will it be executed or not? Every scenario. So exception occurs from try or exception occurs from catch block. In every such scenarios, return statement is there in try block, return statement is there in catch block also. Finally will be executed mandatory. Understood? Yeah. So now I'll test your understanding of execution flow. What I'll keep, so here I'll give 200, here I'll give 300. Okay. First scenario, no exception from try block. Tell me the output. 50, finally 300. Anybody says 100? Okay, done. Next, the change I'll make inside this try block, I'll give a 0 exception. Now tell me the output. Handled, finally 300. Correct. Yeah. Now I'll come back to the first scenario. Any exception from try block? Try block? Any exception from try? No. But what I'll do, I'll remove this return from finally. It's not mandatory. Syntactically, we are correct. Now tell me the order of output. 50. Yeah. And then 50 final block followed by. Yeah. So now the return statement of try block will be executed after final block execution. That's a proof. You can see the output. Now exception occurs from try block. What's order of output? Handled. This is finally 200. Done. That's it. So here is a proof that every scenario finally will be executed, and depends on whether you add return statement from finally return value only will be returned. Otherwise, from try will be returned or from catch will be returned. So this is about the complete story of exceptions concept.